Hello, this is Ravza.
And this is Veza.
Welcome
to Fun Facts with RNB. Today we're going to be talking about the agricultural revolution.
Excuse me, I have a question. What is this agricultural revolution you're talking about?
It's the agricultural revolution.
Oh.
There's a pretty good shot that if you ask your grandparents or great-grandparents about what it was like growing up, they may say that they grew up on a farm. Cows, chickens, and even a pony may sound like fun to you, but your grandparents might make it sound like a lot of work. After all, they had to take care of those animals as well as grow much of their own food. The idea of going to the grocery store or a restaurant to get food is a really new one. For thousands of years, people had to grow their food or buy it from a farmer. However, what made people start farming? The start of farming is called the agricultural revolution.
So you mean there was a time when humans didn't grow food?
Exactly. If you were to ask your ancestors from thousands of years ago how they got food, they would have a variety of answers. Some might say they hunted, some might say they gathered fruits and nuts, and some might say they fished. The point is that they were not making food, but finding food.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Of course, there were hardships. You can only hunt or fish or gather from the same place for so long without using everything up, so these people had to move on. However, these hunter-gatherers likely had a trash pile, and that's where they put all their food waste. Every few months, they would come back to an earlier place, hoping that nature had replenished their campsite.
Wow. Historians have often labeled the first agricultural revolution, which took place around 10,000 BC, as a period of transition from a hunting and gathering society to one based on stationary farming. During the 18th century, another agricultural revolution took place, which I wanted to talk about. When European agriculture shifted from the techniques of the past, new patterns of crop rotation and livestock utilization paved the way for better crop yields, a greater diversity of wheat and vegetables, and the ability to support more livestock. These changes impacted society as the population became better nourished and healthier. The Enclosure Acts, passed in Great Britain, allowed wealthy lords to purchase public fields and push out small-scale farmers, causing a migration of men looking for wage labor in cities. These workers would provide the labor for new industries during the Industrial Revolution.
That is so interesting.
Yes, and the Agricultural Revolution began in Great Britain around the turn of the 18th century. Several major events, which will be discussed in more detail later, include the perfection of the horse-drawn seeds, which would make farming less labor-intensive and more productive. The large scale of growth of new crops such as potato and maize by 1750. The passing of the enclosure laws limiting the common land available to small farmers in 1760.
So they really worked hard, and it's actually really complicated.
Yes?
In many ways, British agriculture advanced more rapidly than any other European nation. The increased agricultural production of the 18th century can be traced to four interrelated factors: the increased availability of farmland, a favorable climate, more livestock, and improved crop yield. This was really important for them. Let's look at each of these areas in more detail. The available farmland increased due to changes in landholding patterns, spurred on by new methods of cultivation. Previously, the open field system was prominent. This system was problematic because it allowed part of the land to remain unplanted at all times in order to avoid depleting the soil. Since growing crops removes nutrients from the soil, a field must be replenished in order to continue to yield food. One solution to this situation was to continue to move crops to different land. This was not feasible in Great Britain because the country lacked a large percentage of available land. Instead, farmers began to utilize barren soil by planting different crops, such as clover or turnips. These plants have roots rich in nitrogen, a necessity for replenishing soil. The cultivation of turnips was important because they could be left in the ground through the winter. This ultimately led to an increase in livestock because these plants were also utilized for grazing. The boost in livestock fundamentally changed the diet of much of Europe.
So it's like a chain reaction. It affects everybody.
Exactly. Not only were Europeans consuming more meat, but stopped producing much needed fertilizer for crops. The addition of fertilizer allowed an improved production rate per acre. By the beginning of the 18th century, the colder climate of the Little Ice Age had ended. The resulting mild summer months created ideal conditions for crop cultivation. Several innovators created tools that greatly influenced the new agriculture. In the mid-18th century, two British agriculturists, Robert Bakewell and Thomas Coke, introduced selective breeding as a scientific practice, mating together two animals with particularly desirable characteristics, and using inbreeding, the mating of close relatives, to stabilize certain qualities in order to reduce genetic diversity. Arguably, Bakewell's most important breeding program was sheep. Using native stock, he was able to quickly select for large, yet fine-boned sheep with long, lustrous wool. Bakewell was also the first to breed cattle to be used primarily for beef. Previously, cattle were first and foremost kept for pulling plows as oxen for the daily uses, with beef from surplus males as an additional bonus. As more and more farmers followed Bakewell's lead, farm animals increased dramatically in size and in quality.
Certain practices that contributed to a more productive use of land intensified. For example, converting some pasture land into arable land and recovering fen land and some pastures. It is estimated that the amount of arable land in Britain grew by 10 to 30 hundredths through these land conversions. Other developments came from Flanders and the Netherlands, where due to the large and dense population, farmers were forced to take maximum advantage of every bit of usable land. The region became a pioneer in canal building, soil restoration and maintenance, soil drainage, and land reclamation technology. Dutch experts, like Cornelius Vermeulen, brought some of these technology to Britain. Finally, water meadows were utilized in the late 16th to 20th centuries and allowed earlier pasturing of livestock after they were wintered on hay. This increased livestock yields, giving more hides, meat, milk, and manure, as well as better hay crops.
An important factor of the agricultural revolution was the invention of new tools and advancements of old ones, including the plow, seed drill, and threshing machine to improve the efficiency of agricultural operations.
Yes, and this was a very different topic than we usually talk. Thanks for bringing these kind of topics though, Beyza. But unfortunately, it seems we're nearing the end of our program. I hope you guys enjoyed this time travel to the agricultural revolution.
Which of these facts do you think was the most interesting? Be sure to let us know. Thanks for watching Fun Facts with RNB. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned to Fun Facts with RNB on NPR with Turkside. Goodbye!